Okay, I think we're live. So hi everyone and welcome to my channel. For those new here, my name's Nikki. I'm an author and editor and I post videos here on YouTube about writing, editing, reading and all the other things I love. It's the latter we're here for this video because it's the end of the month and it's time to talk very briefly about some of the things I've been watching during October. So let me get rid of this banner first so I'm not chopping my face off. There we go. Okay, so I've been watching a few things. I still haven't been back to the cinema or the theatre. Both are open, but there's just been nothing that's really grabbed me that I've felt desperately I need to go and see. So that might change, but I honestly, possibly not before the end of the year. It just depends. If Black Widow is still coming out in November, then I may go and see it then if they don't push that back further. But otherwise, I think potentially I've just renewed my cinema membership, but I don't see myself going that much till 2021 now, and nothing is on at the theatre that interests me. But I've been watching a lot on Netflix as always, so let me tell you a little bit about some of these things. So well, I'll start off with SBS On Demand actually. So for those who don't know, SBS is one of our channels here, TV channels here in Australia, and SBS On Demand is a really good service actually. It's free online streaming of films and TV programs and the like. And they also include a huge amount of foreign content. So I really enjoy that. And it's both foreign films that I've been watching this month. So the first of those was a Japanese movie called Shoplifters. This is a drama about a family who, as the title suggests, are shoplifters. They kind of have odd jobs, small roles each of them do, but it's barely enough to cover expenses. And they end up grabbing a few extra things along the way. And they find a little girl and adopt her into the family, even though she's missing from her original family. From her parents are looking for her. This was really interesting drama, perhaps a little bit slow moving at times. There were odd moments when my attention strayed and I kind of found myself doing other things as I watched, but it was well acted and an interesting piece all the same. And the other one I watched on SBS On Demand was Return of the Hero. This is a French movie based on a classic novel. And I actually hadn't read the novel. It's one of those that's been sitting on my to-read lists for a while and I haven't gotten to it yet. But I do want to try and bump it up the list a bit because I did really enjoy the film. The premise is there's a soldier, a captain. He's just gotten engaged to the daughter of a wealthy family when he's called off to war. It's the Napoleonic era. And off he goes, promising to write, but no letters ever come. So eventually the sister decides to take pity and creates letters that she pretends have come from the fiancé in order to perk up her sister's spirits. So first she has him doing various adventures, and then in the end she thinks now's the time to perhaps kill him off and let her sister start fresh. So she sends his final letter. He's in the midst of battle and it's looking bleak, and they can then assume he's dead. So life goes on, the sister marries someone else, and then suddenly the captain reappears, which causes a lot of difficulty for both the captain, the sister, and the original fiancée. So, and her new husband, of course. So that's the premise. It's essentially a comedy. There's elements of drama in there too, but there's a strong comedic streak running through it. And I found it really entertaining, great fun. I love the performances. And as I said, I definitely would like to check out the original book now. Moving on, Crunchyroll. I watched the OVA of Noblesse. And the premise of this story is the sort of Noblesse are these higher beings gifted with special powers who in the past protected humanity and kind of lorded over them in a way. And over time, they've become diminished. Their role at least has become diminished, and many of them have kind of drifted off into hiding. And our main character has been locked up in a coffin for several hundred years. He's now free again, and he's found his former servant, and his former servant now runs a high school. And so he's enrolled as a student in the high school and is trying to adapt to modern life and high school life while also watching over everyone. And there's an evil group in the background who are causing trouble. I really enjoyed the OVA. I thought it was great fun. I liked the setup of the story, and the series has now released and I am watching that. It's only releasing one episode a week, so I'm up to about episode 3 or 4 so far out of about 12 or 13 I think it's going to be. So I will have a full review of the series once I finish it, which is not going to be for another couple of months yet. And so on to Netflix. Everything else now is Netflix. I'll start off with the only movie I've watched, which is Boys in the Band. Now this is a movie based on a play, I think, originally, and I haven't seen the play, so I came into this with no expectations. I thought it was a really interesting drama, some brilliant acting, particularly from Jim Parsons and Zachary Quinto. And the premise of this one is there's a group of middle-aged guys, they're gay, they're gathered for the birthday party of one of the members, and a straight person has kind of come into the mix. And there are obviously a lot of tensions and a lot of history going on between these characters, which bubbles over during the course of the evening. I don't want to say too much more and spoiler it, but I thought it was a really enjoyable drama, as I said. Lots of great emotion, great performances, and definitely one I recommend. Next up, I finally finished watching the Chinese fantasy drama Handsome Siblings. This one was really a mixed bag for me. I watched this after having watched the Untamed, which I loved. It took me a long time to get into the Untamed, about 8 or 9 episodes, but when I got into it, I really enjoyed it. And I kind of came to this one expecting more of the same, and in some ways it is. I mean, there's, in the same way as the Untamed, there's the sort of straight-laced character who always tends to wear white and have long hair for some reason. And he's always paired with the mischievous character who dresses in dark colours and has a shorter, like, choppier, dirtier, messier, perhaps, looking hairstyle. That seems to be the way it is. Of course, there's the martial arts elements, all the flying, fighting and various things, bits of magic. But for me, this one just never quite took off in the way the Untamed did. I did get into it, but this is a 40-odd episode series, and I really didn't start to get interested in the story properly until around the midway mark, really. I kind of kept watching more, thinking, oh, I might get into it, and it did happen. But I didn't love it as much as the Untamed. Like, the Untamed, I feel I could watch a second time and still enjoy it, whereas this one, I think once was enough. I'm not, based on my experience with these two, I'm not tempted to watch masses more of the Chinese content on Netflix. I think that just the style of the productions doesn't suit my tastes, whereas the Korean and Japanese stuff does. Nothing against the Chinese, it's just that style of drama and storytelling just doesn't appeal to me quite as much. So that was the Handsome Siblings anyway. So moving on, I might keep all the Korean ones together, and I'll jump down to a French series, only six episodes, I think it was, 6 or 8, La Révolution. And this is a period drama, but alternate history. It's kind of saying that there was another cause of the French Revolution, which was this virus that turned people into these zombie-like creatures. Or zombies, perhaps not quite the right word. They are kind of dead. They come back to life. It's kind of a blend of zombies and vampires, really, because they're eating people. It's not just blood, which is why I went zombie at first. But we'll say zombie vampire kind of cross. And it's the virus is running rampant among the aristocracy, and that's why we have to behead them all at the guillotine. So that's the premise. It looked like the story potentially is going to continue in a second series. It kind of ended in a sort of tied off way, but with enough of an opening that they could continue it. My husband watched this with me and he really enjoyed it. For me, it was middle of the road. I didn't hate it, but I never really got completely captivated by it. I was quite happy to sit there and do a few other things, and I don't have to watch the screen for subtitles for French, so I could just listen and look up now and again and do some other stuff at the same time, write some letters and things. And I didn't feel I was missing out in any way and unable to keep up with the story by doing that. But if you like sort of slightly bloody, gory horror stories with a bit of alternate history going on, then I think you definitely enjoy this. For me, if they do a second season, I'd probably watch it. My husband will likely want to, but I wouldn't be absolutely desperately upset if they don't. It's, as I said, middle of the road. Last night I finished season 2 of The Alienist. So this is The Alienist, Angel of Darkness. I really enjoyed the first series of The Alienist. I thought it was a captivating drama, perhaps a little slow-paced at times, but with really compelling performances a great idea and some strong character development. For me, season 2 was a little bit of a letdown. Again, like Révolution, I was watching it, but I was able to do other things at the same time and still follow what was happening. I wasn't so invested that I wanted to stare at the screen the whole time. I think for me, the plot just wasn't as engaging as the first series. And all the character development I really enjoyed in the first series wasn't there quite so much because the 3 characters had already formed their bond in the first series. And although there were tests of it during this second story, that element of discovery and getting to know new people and working out how to work with them, that was gone. So I think if you liked series 1, you'll probably want to give it a try. But if you only had the option of watching one, I'd definitely stick with season 1 because I think it's a lot stronger. So finally, moving on to the Korean series, of which I've watched 4 during October. The first was a short one, The School Nurse Diaries. This was probably my least favourite of the month. I didn't dislike it, but it's not something that I'll want to rewatch again and again. It's a quirky kind of story. As the title suggests, the main character is a school nurse. And in this school, there are these various weird creatures around. And the premise seems to be that they kind of leftover bits of emotion and things from the students, the teachers. And sometimes they can take on too much form and start causing trouble. But she's able to defeat them and kill them. It was quirky and fun, a bit silly, really. So enjoyable in its way, but it's not something really deep that I'd want to rewatch again and again. Next up was a contemporary fantasy or speculative piece, if you like, called While You Were Sleeping. And the premise of this story is a group of people and they have dreams, and their dreams are about things that are going to take place in the future. And often it's connected to their relationship, and there's this sort of big background story that links them all together going on as well. And when they have the dreams, they're trying to do stuff to fix it, to stop people getting hurt. And sometimes that creates new problems instead. So it's one I can't say too much about without spoiling it. But this was enjoyable. It was a fun premise, well acted, the usual excellent blend in Korean dramas of emotion and drama with comedy and fun and good action moments. So definitely one I would recommend. I really enjoyed it. Perhaps not in my absolute top 10, but definitely a strong piece that I would think anyone would enjoy watching. And next up, Angel's Last Mission, Love. Now this one is fantasy, obviously, a little bit of a cheesy rom-com at the same time. And we have Dan, who's our angel, and he's a good angel, but he gets in trouble now and again, shall we say, for doing the things against the rules. And his latest punishment, he's been told he can return to heaven and all will be forgiven if he completes one mission. And he has 100 days in which to help this woman find love. And the woman in question is a ballerina who was blinded in a terrible accident a few years ago. She's just had surgery to restore her sight, and she's trying to relaunch her career, but she's contending with extended family members who are jealous of her and trying to keep control of her company, or who want to have her role as prima ballerina. So there's sort of this family drama and revenge aspect going on, coupled with the angel storyline in which Dan is trying to fulfill his purpose and get back to heaven. Except, of course, things go wrong because he ends up falling in love with her himself. So that's the basic premise. This was a really cute one. I loved it. It's funny because my husband he doesn't necessarily watch them, but he'll often be sitting in the room with me. And this is one of the ones that he kept looking up at the TV quite a lot during. And I do have a joke with him because the ones he tends to get sucked into are the slightly cheesier rom-com-y ones, like this one and My Girlfriend Is a Gummy Hole before. They tend to be some of his favourites for some reason. But this was really enjoyable. As I said, it was sweet and funny, but it had some darker moments and plenty of drama and action as well. The guy playing Dan is so super cute. He's got the most gorgeous smile, and it's worth watching just for that. So definitely recommend Angel's Last Mission, Love. And the very last one that I watched for October is The Emperor, Owner of the Mask. So this is a chosen era historical drama. Not so much fantasy, a bit more straight, if you like, straight historical this time. I suppose a slight element of fantasy in that the owner of the mask in question is the Crown Prince, and he was poisoned, or they attempted to poison him when he was born, and it's all linked up with this issue that in the background there's this sinister group of men who are running the country. It's a puppet monarchy in a way. The Crown Prince's father was drawn into them, and he had no say. They were telling him what to do, and he wanted to free his son of that. So he made him wear a mask to hide his face, because the group, in order to initiate him, needed to be able to recognize him. He doesn't really know this at the start of the story. He's just angry that he's being forced to wear this mask all the time. So it becomes a bit of a battle of wills between the Crown Prince and this evil group as to who is going to get power. And along the way, there's romance, adventure, action, plenty of drama. And this was really enjoyable. I don't want to say too much more because I don't want to spoil the story. But this is definitely a big contender as a good favourite of mine. I reckon it probably makes it into the top 10 without any difficulty. It was really well-paced story, good acting, really entertaining, and just thumbs up all the way, really, for me. So that brings us to the end of my October watches. I have a few things I'm watching at present. I've got a couple more animes I'm watching on Crunchyroll. I'm watching a Korean drama called Possessed. And I'm also about to watch a couple of things, hopefully, from the Korean Film Festival in Australia, which kicked off a couple of days ago. It was running for a week, and the films are all streaming free online, but you have to watch them at the streaming time. So it just depends how my timing works out. I've picked 3 over the next few days that I'd like to see, and I will watch them if I'm able to, if leisure allows me, if you like, although leisure and me is a word I don't really recognise at the moment, but I'm hoping to, at the very least, see one of them if I can't see all 3. So I will tell you about those next time, hopefully, as long as I get to watch 1 or 2. I'll be back again in probably about 5 to 10 minutes time for my book wrap-up. Otherwise, I will see you again soon with another vlog. Bye for now, everyone.